Welcome to another episode of Mission Compliance, unleashing growth potential for defense contractors. In today's episode, we continue down the road of understanding CMMC, its regulations, and controls. Up next is IA.L2-3.5.9, allow temporary password use for system logons with an immediate change to a permanent password. We'll break down what this control means, why it matters, and how it impacts your organization's cybersecurity posture. We'll also provide practical insights and strategies for achieving compliance and securing your systems effectively. So whether you're a defense contractor aiming to win more contracts or simply someone interested in bolstering your cybersecurity knowledge, you're in the right place. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? We're joined once again today by Mike Frieder, President of On-Call Compliance Solutions and a CMMC Professional Assessor. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hey, always a pleasure, Roman.
Quick pop quiz. Do you know what movie that reference comes from?
Oh man, I know. I mean, I've seen the movie a million times. Hang on a second, give me a minute. You got me on that one. I don't have it.
The Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker masterpiece,
That's right. Was it
Rush
Rush Hour?
Hour.
Rush
Yeah,
Hour.
Rush Hour. I watched those movies recently. They still hold up, man.
I
There's
remember as a kid going to see Jackie Chan movies like every weekend with my mom. There was always another Jackie Chan movie coming out.
absolutely, and he's still doing it, man. Still doing it. Uh, so this week we're talking about temporary passwords. We've talked about passwords for the last couple of control videos, but this one is about temporary passwords. So let's jump right into this one. Why is this control important?
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, on the surface, this control seems like something that would just naturally be built into every system. But it's not. And then some clients also have systems that they design themselves. And that's an interesting one, right? When you're designing the system yourself. So why is it important? Well, number one is it reduces exposure to compromise. So temporary passwords are often distributed via less secure means, right? They may be emailed to somebody, it might be sent over a help desk call. And if an adversary, for any reason, intercepts that password, they could gain unauthorized access. So there's a concern about the idea that if you have your password reset, um, whatever that temporary password is quickly needs to be changed again so that there's only one person that knows the password instead of multiple. So, excuse me, that's the biggest reason why. And it's a real concern, right? Requiring immediate change minimizes the window of opportunity for exploitation. And that's really the primary goal. Additionally, it supports identity assurance. So it requires a user to change a temporary password upon initial logon and confirm the user's identity and help bind the account to that individual securely. So in other words, there's only one person theoretically at moment number one that knows it, or maybe there's two, right? The tech support person that's resetting it, and then the user. So it's going to support in the assuring that now again only one person will know what that password is. Next one is it mitigates risk from default credentials. Again, temporary passwords often follow predictable patterns. Now, I would probably say in this day and age, that's probably a little bit less the case. So this is probably an older control, or at least the roots in why it exists are a little bit older. But of course, that's why we have compliance controls to make sure we don't repeat past mistakes. But with that in mind, what I would tell you is that again, it's mitigating risk from default credentials. Again, these days probably not so much of an issue, but some of these routers and things like that still come with default credentials, so you got to watch that. And then finally, it supports compliance verification. So the controls explicitly map to CMMC practice IA.L2-3.5.9 and is assessed to ensure that organizations do not inadvertently rely on unsecured credentials for ongoing access. And again, the idea really is only one person should ever know what the password is, or have the credential to get into a system. That supports the idea that you can trace the actions of that account or service account or whatever it may be back to that individual. So in short, the control helps prevent the misuse of initial or recovery credentials and ensures that long-term access credentials are unique, known only to the authorized user, not the authorized user and some tech support people who could go rogue. and established through a secure process. So that's why it's so necessary.
Absolutely. So, what are the key assessment points an assessor would be looking for on this one?
Yeah, this is gonna be a short podcast, man, because I tell you, there's only one assessment point, but that's good, right? Like, once in a while, as you're going through 110 controls, a nice, easy softball is
Hmm.
much appreciated, I'm sure, by everybody in the audience. So, what's the assessment point? There's only one. It's determined if an immediate change to a permanent password is required when a temporary password is used for system logon. It's just to describe because it's deceiving. When they say immediate change, what the reality is of how these systems really work is you log in with a temporary password, and then when you log on, that's when it is immediately required to change to something that only that user knows. And I think when you explain it like that, people are much more familiar with what this process really is. I think the word immediate is a little bit deceptive because you would think that that's something that is based on time, and it is, right? So it is as far as not allowing you to continuously use the temporary password, but it is not necessarily in all circumstances immediate, as in, you only have 24 hours to change your password. Some systems should be set up like that. It's just not the only way. So implement, in all cases of password reset, users must change their temporary passwords the first time they log in. That's how those systems work, and it requires an immediate change of the password upon login with the temporary credential. That's that's the right way to answer that control. Again, deceptive the way that the assessment point is actually worded. So don't get fooled by that one. It certainly is something that there may not be an exact and precise timing control around.
Are there any potential difficulties in acting this one?
That's an interesting thought. Are there any difficulties? The answer is you do have to make sure that your password policies are set up correctly to do this. So we do want to make sure that they are in fact set up to require this. The good news is modern day Azure government, Office 365, GCC High, it all works like this kind of out of the box. Group policy, again, if you've got a modern up-to-date server, it should probably work like this out of the box. But again, you guys, part of compliance is actually verifying. So go check your group policy, go check Intune policies, conditional access, etc. And let's make sure that we are forcing temporary passwords to immediately be reset when someone logs back in, or that there is a timing component added to how long a temporary password is good for. Also very important. So, yep, but yeah, as far as difficulty implementing, I don't think it's really any more difficult than anything else. I think it's really just perhaps the difficulty is you just kind of take it for granted that it's set up this way, and then of course you want to make sure that it actually is.
Absolutely. A nice quick one this week, as you mentioned. But before we get out of here, this one silly question. Mike, this one may make you pull your hair out a little bit as a former IT guy, and now we've been talking about password security. I think this question might make you pull your hair out just at the thought of this. A classic either or situation. What's worse? Forgetting to change your temporary password or realizing your permanent password is still your dog's name from 2011.
Boy, neither of those are good, but I would probably say that failure to change your temporary password is not a good one. Again, you don't know what that temporary password may have been set to unless you do know, which means you haven't logged into your account. And there is another control in NIST SP 800-171 that says if the account is idle and it hasn't been logged into, well, then it should be disabled for security purposes. So the good news is there are mitigating controls in NIST SP 800-171 that will fight that situation. So therefore, the correct answer would probably be, as my dog barks in the background, thank goodness for noise canceling microphones, it would be the dog's name, or worse, using your anniversary as your Intune pin. You know who you are. You know who you are. So
I'll tell you what you never want to do. Name your dog password.
that's right. That's right.
Because then if you use your dog's name, your password is password.
That's right. Yeah. And nobody wants a password.
Although that would be a funny name for an animal, I must say.
Yes. I can just imagine running through the neighborhood screaming password after. um, I have seen stranger things in my neighborhood, to tell you the truth.
See, but with your dogs, you follow the naming pattern that I find the funniest, and that is naming animals after food.
It was, you know what,
I
we're
find that
hungry.
hilarious and I love it.
I know we love our food. Our first dog was named Bagel, and our new doggy, his name is Brisket. So they are B names that are food items that we love.
Your next dog should be Banana if you follow that
I do
pattern.
like a good banana. I like a banana in my smoothie.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another great episode of Mission Compliance. We hope our discussion today has provided you with valuable insights, practical strategies, and inspiration to navigate the ever-evolving world of defense. We'd like to extend our appreciation to Mike for joining us, however briefly, and talking about the importance of changing your temporary passwords. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, always a pleasure, Robin. You know what? Compliance shouldn't take forever. So if it's easy to explain and it's simple, why have a long podcast over it? Let's move on to the next control and let's get her done.
You know, just a few weeks ago, we had an episode that was 40 minutes long. So you're welcome for this one. But the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue exploring these topics and connect with us via our social media channels. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and engage with fellow listeners using the hashtag Mission Compliance Podcast. If they haven't already, what should they do, Mike?
Well, they should definitely like, subscribe, for sure tell a friend, and make sure that you're resetting your temporary passwords.
Absolutely. And by hitting subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, it lets you know when new episodes like this one are released, and we truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review the show on that platform. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you thought-provoking episodes and high-quality content. Join us next time as we delve further into the dynamic world of defense, security, and industry innovation. Until then, take care, stay informed, and make compliance your mission. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.